All right. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is David Misal. I will be your professor this semester for American Studies 491W. That's American themes, American eras, and our topic this semester will be American materialism. I just wanted to make this video real quick to say hi, everybody, and welcome to the class. I really love teaching American Studies course material. I also teach freshman composition and history. I teach at Penn State Harrisburg. I teach at York College, and I teach at Harrisburg Area Community College as well. Um, and of all of the courses that I do, this is probably my personal favorite. Teaching in this field because this is what I'm doing my PhD in. So the purpose of this video is threefold. Number one, I want to introduce you to myself, give you a face to put with a name, when I'm grading your stuff. This way you have a face that you can picture, and maybe you can print this out, put it on a dartboard, and throw some darts at it. Um, Other than that, the other points are to go over the syllabus, talk about what we'll be doing this term, and then finally talk a little bit about what the course itself is. So to start off, as far as me, I am finishing a PhD at Penn State currently um, in the American Studies program. I've completed all of my coursework to this point. I've completed my qualifiers and my comprehensives and am finishing my dissertation. And while you are writing your papers for me, I will be working on my dissertation for Dr. Buccitelli, Dr. Bronner, and Dr. Haddad. So please don't feel like you're the only one doing work. I am going to be very, very busy doing my own work as well as working with what you have for me. Um, my primary interests in American studies are religion and religious history, particularly the history and culture of evangelical Christianity. Um, I also spend a lot of time doing work in colonial America, particularly Puritan New England and Quaker Pennsylvania. And then finally, as a sort of third field for me, it will be history of business and business culture, labor, production, consumption. And that's really where this course comes from, is from that sort of third interest. You'll see some aspects of this course that will be reflective of my interest in religion, as we start off talking about God versus Cod and Jonathan Winthrop. Um, and towards the end, when we talk about televangelists, but really this course is rooted in that interest in how Americans consume things, how we buy, sell, and trade, and how we imagine those things that we buy, sell, and trade to be, what role they have in our lives, um, and how they help to shape the culture that we're all part of. So that's where this course comes from. That's how I developed it and kind of where I'm coming from. I hope that that is useful for you to get a sense of um, what we'll be doing. And then, so we'll move into the second part and we'll talk about the syllabus just a bit. You'll forgive me if I don't really look at the camera here much. I'm reading the syllabus off of a separate screen. So the first page or so, the first part of the syllabus is the course name, the course title, office hours, those kinds of things. I'm not going to be in my office at Penn State very much. But if you need me, you can get a hold of me with the phone number that you will find there, 717-823-1748. That is my personal cell. So all that I would ask is that you think before you call. If it's 2 a.m., don't call. Just kind of think about these things before you go further. All right. But generally speaking, it is easier to get a hold of me via text or by call than it is via email. I check my email about once per day. So if you need me for something, particularly if you need me immediately for something, drop me a text and let me know, even just a text, saying, hey, this is John Smith from American Studies 491. I emailed you. That's fine. I will check that then. Okay. So that is me. And that is kind of where I come from with that. If you need to get together with me face to face, that's fine. We can certainly do that. It's just going to have to be at a time that is mutually agreeable to all parties. Um, Course description, read it. Course objectives, read them. It's not rocket science. I want you to be able to contextualize a wide variety of artifacts, whether they be written texts, physical objects, fiction, nonfiction, whatever. I want you to be able to apply the methods and theories that American Studies uses. Theory and method is a particular passion of mine, and I want you to be comfortable using those things, and not just using them, but knowing what they are. When I say myth and symbol, you should know what I'm talking about. If I'm talking about material culture, by the end of this class, you should be able to define that. And then finally, I'd like you to know something about the general topic of materialism, what it is, what does materialism mean, and how can we, think about it in light of American culture. For required text, there's only 3 that you have to purchase or rent or borrow from the library, whatever. Lee Eric Schmidt's book, Consumer Rights, Arthur Miller's famous play, Death of the Salesman, and Tom Wolfe's magnificent novel, Bonfire of the Vanities. Everything else I will provide for you on Canvas. The only other thing that might be helpful, for those of you who are not particularly proficient in history, a general U.S. history survey text might be handy for you. So that's something that you could pick up usually very cheap off of Amazon. But it's something worth having sort of handy. If you're sitting there going, we're talking about the 1840s, and I have no idea what we're talking about. On to required websites and applications. Now look, this is an online class. I'm expecting a certain level of technical proficiency from you. So please, by all means, if you have problems with the technology, let me know. But if you're somebody who struggles to save a Word document or compose an email, this is not the class for you, and you would do well to drop, most likely. Not saying that to be discouraging, but I don't want to deal with a ton of late work. That is all based on, well, I couldn't get the technology to work for me. That's not going to be a sufficient excuse for late work, okay? So I just want to lay that out there. All of those things are outlined in the syllabus. As far as grades go, this is a 400 level class. So I expect excellence, and I expect it without much gripe. There are 4 things from which I will derive your grades. There will be a short paper. By short paper, what I mean is roughly 750 words, about 3 pages or so. That paper is going to either be a book review of consumer rights or a critical analysis of Death of a Salesman or Bonfire. It is up to you to decide which of these you want to do. Okay? In the week that your paper comes due, for example, if you do a book review of consumer rights, that's week 2. In week 2, then, you would not have to do the thread posts for that week. Your short paper takes those place. Okay? So that is something to bear in mind, is that I'm not trying to make you sort of double dip and do the work twice. Okay? There are further instructions for this available on Canvas in the files, where it says, I believe it's syllabus and supplements. Go into that folder and you'll see there's a short paper writing guide. There's also a long paper. This is a W class, and so I have to give you a certain amount of revisable prose. Of that revisable prose, what it's going to be is about 2,000 words. That 2,000 words, it's between 2,000 and 3,000. You will turn in a preliminary draft. You will turn in peer reviews then of 2 other people's rough drafts. You will do a presentation based on that, and then you'll turn in a final draft. This is to give you the opportunity to take feedback and fix your paper, do the presentation, and kind of test that paper, test your thesis, and see how it all plays. Okay? This is because of the W tag, and it is not optional. If you do not complete the rough draft, you do not complete the presentation, you do not complete the peer reviews, you will not pass the class no matter what your percentage score is. Okay? Just want to make that clear. I also need to apparently turn my light back on because my office light just turned off. So I am sorry for that. And that's what you get for having motion sensors. Your discussion posts will follow the directions in Canvas, and will be 15% of your total grade. Generally speaking, what I'm looking for is something like a classroom discussion. Okay? Not looking for rocket science. Not looking for everything to be perfect. I'm looking for you to hash out ideas, get those across, and then we can go from there. It's just like having a conversation in a seminar class. Finally, we will have quizzes. Those quizzes are essentially just to make sure that you're actually reading the material. These should be the easiest things you'll do all semester. If they're not, then that's a problem with the way that you read, because they're factual questions asking you to define certain things, or, the author talks about this and this and this. Which of the following 4 things best summarizes their point? That kind of stuff. Together, that makes up your grade. I will let you look at the grading scale that Penn State lays out, as well as the whole list of policy statements, some of which matter more for you and some of which matter less. In general, given that this is a summer class, you're a lot more on your own with regards to university resources. I don't know if the Writing Center is even in over the summer, but you can certainly find out. As far as it goes, just let me make this simple statement in 2 parts. Part number 1, attendance. Obviously, this is an online class, so you're not attending in the classical sense. However, if you do not complete all of the material that I ask you to complete, you will not pass the class. Let me reiterate that. If you do not complete the material, you will not pass the class. All right? So, given all of that, just complete the material. That's like showing up. Secondly, with regards to academic freedom, I am a huge proponent of you being able to say what you want to say. You being able to argue the point that you want to argue, as long as you have backing for it. Okay? So don't feel like there's a point that you can't make because it might offend me. There's a point you might make that might offend someone else in our class. As long as it's an academic point that you can back up with facts and sources and evidence, I'm all for it, okay? Academic freedom is important to me. Last thing I should say about the syllabus, I do reserve the right to make changes to it. However, changes will only ever benefit my students. They will never add work. So I'm not going to decide to add reading. I might decide to take reading out. Those kinds of things, okay? As far as the schedule goes, you can take a look at that in the schedule of activities, which is in our syllabus. The first week will be on early America. That's going to be a lot of John Winthrop, a lot of colonial Massachusetts. Week 2 will be on materialism in the 19th century. That's Lee Eric Schmidt's book, Consumer Rights, the Buying and Selling of American Holidays. And we're going to be looking at the way that holiday rituals formed as a result of materialism and consumer and producer impulses. In the third week, we'll look at the death of a salesman and the early 20th century. We're going to be talking a little bit about gender here and masculine versus feminine consumption and how those things play out. In week 4, we'll be looking at Bonfire of the Vanities, the first half of it. We'll talk a little bit about the 80s and the lead up to the 80s. We'll talk a little bit about consumerism and race. We'll talk a little bit about consumption and sort of just kind of what was going on in the latter half of the 20th century. The second week from that, week 5, we'll still be dealing with the same topic. I'm going to give you a video lecture on televangelists. Again, my specialty is religion, so you shouldn't be surprised that I bring it in here some. But televangelists and materialism are connected, so it's a good way to get into it from a different angle. And then finally, in our final week, week 6, we'll be talking about digital materialism. We'll be talking about the internet, Jeff Bezos, Amazon, and that phenomenon. We'll be talking a little bit about World of Warcraft and what they call gold sellers or plat sellers. We'll be talking a little bit about what is this new age of materialism? Is it something, is this digital material something that we can think of as material in the materialist sense? So we should butt up against the present in our final week. I do run this class pretty historically, kind of running through time periods in chronological sequence. To me, that just makes sense. And that's basically the syllabus. This is not rocket science. This is a pretty straightforward class. I try to run it pretty simply, especially when it comes to an online class. And just because, this is the summer, it's a shortened class, we're reading less, but we are reading fast. So be aware, if you're not comfortable reading, if you do not want to do this, if it does not sound like a good time to you, then now's the time to get out. And I'm not saying that to be mean. I'm not saying that to be discouraging. But if you're looking at this saying, that's too much reading too quickly, then get out now, because I'm not going to change it. We've got to read a certain amount of stuff. We got to deal with a certain number of topics. This is a 400 level senior seminar type of class. I've got undergraduates and master's students here. And so we should be functioning at a high level. Okay? So I don't mean to discourage anybody with that, but I do want to be completely straightforward. Make sure that you understand just how serious I am about the reading for this class. If I feel like you're not doing the reading, we're going to have some problems. All right? So that is a brief summary of our course. It's also a brief summary of the syllabus. Hopefully you'll take some time and read through that and make sure that you are, know what's on the syllabus, what the expectations are. Finally, just a little bit about me. I'm obviously not some 30-year-old kid who is finishing up his PhD. When I said I was finishing my PhD, I'm all but 40, so I'm running a few years behind. I went to college and then dropped out. I started life as an English major, wanted to do literature, wanted to do a little bit of philosophy and those kinds of things. And eventually was persuaded by my advisor that because the question I was interested in was, how does this literature show me what is going on in a culture? She suggested that I find my way over to the history department. And I did. I ended up going for undergraduate for social studies secondary ed. Unfortunately, dropped out of school, went and sold cars for a lot of years, managed a bar. And when I decided to go back to school, I graduated just the wrong time, a time when no one was hiring high school teachers. We were laying them off. It was right around the great financial collapse of 2008. So I was not getting a job. I subbed for a few years before going back for a master's degree in history. Both my bachelor's and my master's are from Millersville University. My master's was primarily in medieval European history because I really wanted to study religion. And I read Latin, and the two put together made me a natural fit for studying medieval history. However, in the master's program, I had to learn about all different types of history. Um, and when I got out of that, I was looking at PhD programs. And unfortunately, just aren't a lot of programs for medievalists in the United States. I would have had to move to Europe or something like that, or at least be able to go there to do a lot of research. And I have a wife, 4 stepdaughters, and a son of my own, that I did not want to have to move halfway across the world to do academic research. So I stayed in the United States, and I found this program in American Studies at Penn State Harrisburg. I came up here, started talking about wanting to pursue religion, and Dr. Bronner was very excited and enthusiastic about that. I was awarded a university graduate fellowship to pursue my studies at Penn State. And then after the fellowship ran out, I was hired at Penn State, and then later at your college and at Hack as an adjunct professor. So that's what I do now. to pay the bills while I'm writing my dissertation. My dissertation specifically is on the way that neo-Pentecostal evangelical Christian churches form communities around their particular practices. Specifically, there is one church that I am dealing with that I have been doing ethnographic research at. And that's actually one of the small projects that you'll do as part of your discussion threads, is you'll do a little bit of ethnographic research yourself. And you'll learn a little bit about what that means. As I said before, I like theory and method. It makes me happy. So I will introduce you to that theory and that method. And that's where I am today. I just completed my comprehensives this past spring, which is a grueling test, if any of you are wondering. If you are thinking you want to do a PhD, it is a really difficult process. I don't make any bones about that. It is incredibly rewarding, but you better love your subject, or you're in all kinds of problems. So anyway, that's a little bit about me. That's a little bit about the class. And that's a little bit about the syllabus. If you have questions, my number is 717-823-1748. You can call me almost any time, and I will try to pick up. If you do not get a hold of me, leave a message. Tell me who you are and what class you're from and what college you're from, because I'm teaching a variety of different courses and whatnot. And we will go from there. I am more than happy to help anyone who has questions, but I need to know who you are. Same thing if you drop me a text. Let me know who you are, what class you're from, what college you're from. Hey, this is John from PSU in your AMST 491. And then ask your question. All right? So anyway it goes, if you have questions, like I said, let me know. I am certainly here to help you out. But the number one thing with an online course is you must be self-motivated. Must be self-motivated. I took a number of online courses as an undergraduate, and I was really good at them because I was a self-motivated student. I really wanted to learn and really wanted to pursue this stuff for myself. I didn't need someone to beat me, to constantly make me do it. Okay? So hopefully you're that person too. If you're not, maybe think about whether or not this is the class for you. Okay? The reading load is intense. I'm not going to joke about the fact that it's not. But, we will get through this. I am here to help you. This is my introductory video. You are going to make an introductory video for yourself. Or you can do an audio file. Or you can do a written block of text. I'd really love to see videos and audio files, though. Written blocks of text are kind of boring. And I want you to use this time maybe to make sure that you know how to use the material and the technology, because when you do your presentation for me, you're going to have to do a video. So make sure that you know how to use it, okay? Anyway it goes. If there's any questions that you have, feel free to let me know. I will upload this and be waiting to hear from you. Class officially will start on the 15th, I believe, maybe the 14th even. I open everything up the 14th, which is Sunday. But we have officially, I believe, begin the 14th or 15th, and we end like the 23rd or 24th of June. So we have 6 weeks together. So y'all have a good one. If you need anything, let me know. Otherwise, I doubt that we'll speak again. But I will be looking at your work, trying to give you good feedback, and as well as the peer reviews for your final paper. So follow the directions, and if you have questions about those directions, let me know. All right, you have a good one. Bye bye.